All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today on today's session on the State of Wisconsin Student Diversity Internship Program. This will be about a 1-hour presentation on how to apply to the program with some background information on the program and just what you can expect for 2022 this year with the Student Diversity Internship Program. If I could just get everybody in the meeting today to just use an emo or raise your hand to confirm that you can hear me. Do have all of the participants muted today. Fantastic. Looks like most everyone is able to hear me. Great. So again, as you are muted, if you have any questions during the presentation at any point, feel free to put them in chat and we'll address them as we go along. We'll also set aside some time at the end of today's presentation to address any outstanding questions you might have. So again, thank you all for being here. This session is intended for any students or potential applicants that might be interested in our internship program this year. As you are probably aware, the application period is open and it will be open until January 21st. So just to give you some background information on who I am, my name is Nicole Bailey. I'm the enterprise coordinator for this internship program. I work in the Bureau of Equity and Inclusion, which is a small little bureau within the Department of Administration, Division of Personnel Management. And one of our charges is to help facilitate this program every year. So this program has been around since 1974. It started off as the Summer Affirmative Action Internship Program and has since placed about 4,000 students in summer internship positions across the state with various state agencies. Ultimately, the goal of this program is to provide paid internship opportunities in a professional work environment within Wisconsin state government for students who identify as any of the following categories: students of color, women, students with disabilities, and veteran students. The internship has gone through many different phases, many different facelifts. Most recently, we revamped our internship in 2019 with the input of community ambassadors. These were college students throughout the state, mostly concentrated from Milwaukee, who came in for the summer of 2019 and just kind of worked with the various state agencies in state government and provided us some feedback on what we could do to improve our internship program. And so we took that feedback and incorporated it into the State of Wisconsin Student Diversity Internship and what it looks like today. So we're just going to go over a couple of the eligibility requirements. Again, I want to remind anybody who has recently joined us, this session is intended for students or potential applicants who are interested in this year's diversity internship program. We're going to go through a how to apply demonstration and just some basics about the program. Everybody is muted, so if you do have any questions as we're going along, feel free to put them in chat and we'll address them as they come up. And we'll also set aside some time at the end of today's presentation to address any questions that you might have. So getting back to just the basic eligibility requirements of the internship program. There are two main prongs. One is that you must be at least 18 years of age at the time that the program begins in May of 2022. Additionally, you must be enrolled in or recently graduated from, as in you graduated in the 2021-2022 school year, or you have plans to attend a 2, 4, or technical college institution in the upcoming year, the 2022-2023 school year. So those are the main eligibility requirements. If you have any questions about those main requirements, feel free to put them in chat. But ultimately, our internship program changes a little bit every year. While the basic components of the internship program, that they are paid opportunities throughout the summer with various Wisconsin state agencies, the parts that change are the kinds of positions that we're able to offer every year. So this year, we're actually able to offer different positions across 19 different state agencies. And that represents over 190 different open opportunities. And applicants can apply to up to 5 different opportunities with their single application. This year, about 60% of the positions that we're offering, of those 190, are remote or have hybrid work schedules, meaning you can work part of the time from home or remotely and part of the time in the office. So we still have the majority of our positions as a remote working schedule. We also have a high concentration of our positions in the Madison area, in the Milwaukee area, but we also have about 56 different opportunities of those 190 positions that are located throughout the state. All right, any questions on the offerings that we have this year? And we'll go a little bit more in depth in the offerings when we look at the catalog, but just want to kind of take this opportunity to pause and see if anybody had any questions about the kinds of positions we have available. All right. So seeing none, let's just talk a little bit about the application process. Again, like I mentioned, there is one application for the entire program, and you are allowed to submit up to 5 positions that you're interested in within the program. So within that one application, you can apply to 5 different positions within the Student Diversity Internship Program. And the application is comprised of 2 essential components, and that is the letter of qualifications and the resume. The letter of qualifications is a template that we actually provide you, and we'll look at that a little more closely in just a moment. But the purpose of the letter of qualifications is for you to be able to speak to each specific position that you're applying to and how it is that you are qualified for that position or what experience it is that you might have relative to that position. And so the letter of qualifications is potentially up to, I believe it's about 12 pages, because you will answer a couple short answer questions for each position that you're interested in applying to, but it'll all be one singular document. And then you have your resume, which will be one resume for the entire program for your single application. All right, so why don't we go ahead and just look at the application from start to finish. Margaret asks, are there word limits for each question? No, there are not. I will say, though, that because the letter of qualifications is a template, there is a text box. There is no word limit on that text box, but you will want to save your file as a Word document rather than a PDF, because the text box then becomes scrollable in a Word document, if that makes sense. So this link takes us to our web page on the Division of Personnel Management website. This is the web page that a lot of students end up encountering our program on, and this is where we have our catalog for this year. The catalog represents all of those 100, and I believe the exact number is 191 positions that we have to offer this year. And this is where you will begin to look through what kind of opportunities might interest you in an internship with the state of Wisconsin this summer. One of the things to keep in mind is, again, that letter of qualifications template. That's one of the 2 essential components of your application. Your application is not complete unless you have submitted a letter of qualifications template for each position that you're interested in. So one idea as far as creating your application is to go ahead, before you even start to look at those positions, to go ahead and download that letter of qualifications template. That's going to bring you to this screen. This is the template itself. You can save it to your computer and keep that handy as you're going through the catalog, because during your review of the catalog, as you find positions that you're interested in, you can go ahead and start to fill out portions of this template for a more efficient way to complete your application when you're ready to submit. So you'll see that the template asks, for your first and last name, but then it goes on to ask for the position number that you're interested in, the working title that you're interested in, and then these next couple questions are relative to the content of the posting itself. So the template is going to ask you to copy and paste the preferred knowledge, skills, and abilities of that position. And then your answer, or one of the major components of your application and what will be used as far as evaluating your application will be in this next section, question 4, that asks you to describe your experience, education, capabilities, etc., that meet those preferred knowledge, skills, and abilities. And I do see we have a hand raised. Just a reminder, we have all mics muted for participants. If there are any questions, feel free to put them in chat as we go along, and we'll address them. So getting back to the knowledge, skills, and abilities, this will be your short answer as the applicant to respond to how it is that your experience, education, capabilities, etc., whatever you can draw upon, relate to the preferred knowledge, skills, and abilities of that position. The second part of the questions for the same position are relative to the duties of that position. Here in question 5, you'll be asked to copy and paste the position's description of duties. And then in question 6, again, describe how it is that your career goals, your academic pursuits, etc., align with the duties of the position, and how this position might help you reach any career goals or academic goals that you have. So that's just kind of an overview of the template. We'll look at this again as we are looking through the catalog, and we can kind of apply that to how it might look in a specific job posting. Greta asks, if we are applying for a broad range of positions, do we submit 2 resumes or just make sure that one resume encompasses all of our various skills and experience? So it is just one resume for the entire program. The where you start to differentiate in the positions that you're interested in is within that letter of qualifications template. This is basically a substitution for like your cover letter, right? Because in each set of questions, you will specifically respond to the position's knowledge, skills, and abilities, or the duties, and the duties of that specific position. You'll see, since we just covered, those first 2 pages, the template basically goes on to repeat itself 5 different times to allow you to apply to 5 different positions. So for position 2, the second position that you're interested in, same set of questions, same format, same kind of responses. Elizabeth asks, where can we find the catalog? So the catalog is on this web page right here. It's also listed in the WISC job postings on the WISC jobs website, where all state careers are listed. If you'll scroll down on the State of Wisconsin Student Diversity Internship Program posting on WISC jobs, which will be the first posting that appears in any search, you'll see that the position catalog is also linked within that posting. And Kat asks, some positions have similar or identical KSAs, such as experience with Microsoft Office. Is it okay if we copy and paste our response to that specific KSA for multiple positions? That's fine. That's completely up to you. Just ensure that you're also touching on the other KSAs in that position if they do differ slightly from another position you're interested in. There is no length requirement for the resume. If your resume happens to be longer than a page, that's fine. You will not need a cover letter, Greta, in your application. Like I said, this letter of qualification template is kind of the substitution for your cover letter and allowing you to apply to those 5 positions in a single document. And thank you, Sarah, for putting that link in the chat. All right, so let's look at some of the positions we have and see how that letter of qualifications template, how that might play out when we're looking at applying to some of these positions. So when you click that icon on the website, or if you go to, the WIS jobs posting and click the link for the position catalog, this is what's going to pop up. Here's our title page. If you want to take a moment, on your own time to just kind of read the letter we've included in our catalog, it provides you with some of the same exact tips that I'm giving you now, as far as, an efficient way to complete your application, making sure that you are taking note of the position number and working title of the positions that you're interested in as you go along, as well as copying and pasting those KSAs and duties. That'll make it it'll make it a lot easier for you to go back and complete your letter of qualifications once you've decided on what positions you're interested in. Again, you can apply to up to 5, and the deadline for the application is January 21st. That's a Friday, 2 Fridays from this Friday. So just remember that deadline is coming up pretty quick, and we need to have them by the end of the day on the 21st. So after our letter, you'll also see an interactive table of contents that lists every single position within the catalog. So if you aren't sure what state agency you want to work with this year, or haven't heard of what specific internships we have, all of the titles of every position are listed within this catalog. You can also search the catalog using the Control F function for specific keywords. So if you're wondering whether or not we have any positions relative to graphic design, wow, that was way off. You can go ahead and search graphic design and see what pops up, and you'll see we have this position here, which is called Plant Protection Outreach Intern. So this is one example where, upon looking at just the titles of the positions, you might not immediately gather what it is that position does. However, if you use a keyword search for specific things that you're interested in, you might get a better idea as well of positions that offer or are looking for things aligned with your interests. So if I'd read Plant Protection Outreach Intern, I wouldn't think, this is something that is along the lines of graphic design. However, if you read the job description and duties and then read the KSAs, you'll notice that this is actually a position that will help create promotional materials, graphics and brochures, etc., to promote the Wisconsin's pollinator protection plan. So this position is actually, really related to studies in graphic design or marketing, media studies, with an intersectionality in biological sciences, in environmental conservation, ecology, etc. So this would be a neat opportunity for somebody who is maybe pursuing graphic design, but also, is interested in saving the planet. So 2 different ways to really search through our catalog. You can use our table of contents to look at different titles and see what might be interesting to you. Click that title and it'll take you right to the position, or you can use the Control F function and do keyword searches and see what all pops up. So I'll do another one for marketing. Let's say I really want to have an internship that is, relative to my marketing academic pursuits. When I search in marketing, I've got this Wisconsin Veterans Museum associate position. Again, maybe not immediately eliciting thoughts of a marketing internship, but upon further knowledge or upon further review of the duties in KSAs, you're able to see that this position does have a relation to marketing and might be something I, as a marketing student, am interested in. And as you go along, you can see different opportunities. The lottery player relations internship, also a marketing focus. So just some ideas there. And again, the table of contents is all hyperlinked to each position. So you want the position of conservation biologist. If you click that title, it'll take you right to the posting. Are you required to apply to 5 positions? No. You are allowed up to 5 positions. If there's just one position that you're interested in, you can apply to just one position, any number between 1 and 5. And you just need to make sure in your letter of qualifications that you speak to each position that you apply for. The majority of the positions are located or based in Madison, but as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, about 60% of our 191 positions are remote or a hybrid remote schedule. And so although the majority of positions are based in Madison, there are a lot of Madison-based positions that do allow for a remote work schedule where you could conduct the necessary work from any approved location within the state. And we do have about 56 different positions that are located throughout various parts of the state. So one thing I want to point out is on each position, each position posting, it'll tell you where the location is, and then it'll tell you if it's eligible for remote work. So you can see this one is an example of those hybrid remote work schedules where part of the schedule may be eligible for remote work. Kat asked, the application asks us to speak to each KSA listed. What if we do not have experience with a certain KSA? Should we speak to that or address it? So the way that we've tried to word a lot of these positions is with the KSAs being as broad as we can, where you could draw upon any number of experiences to help meet that KSAs. If it's a KSA like ability to communicate effectively with coworkers in the public. Let's say you don't have previous work experience, but perhaps you perhaps you gave a presentation in your class for your entire cohort, your entire class, and that's your example of effectively communicating with the public by providing a 30-45 minute presentation on a specific topic. Just get creative on where it is you're drawing your experiences from. This doesn't have to be limited to a professional experience. Doesn't have to be limited to work. The idea of this program is to provide opportunities to gain that professional experience, right? So we really want you to get creative and draw on your academic experiences, on your personal life, on your volunteer organizational experiences. If you truly don't possess a KSA, one approach you might take is, speaking to that, but also speaking to your willingness to learn it. Any other information or any other experiences that are kind of related to that KSA to help support your willingness to just kind of get a comprehensive experience on that particular skill or knowledge set. All right, so let's look at the letter of qualifications in conjunction with a specific posting. So kind of an example of how we might approach our application. Let's say I'm interested in the position of conservation biologist. So again, The letter of qualifications asks us for specific information from this position catalog. It's asking us for the position number, which is conveniently located at the top right corner of every posting. The position number is here. We're going to copy that and paste in here. And then it asks us for the working title, which again, right below there, this is kind of repeated in the title of the posting itself. We're going to copy and paste the working title of the position. This is a position that's in Madison. This is a position that's partially eligible for remote work, and this is the expected hours per week. It's about 30, and the anticipated pay range. So the next part of the letter of qualifications asks us to copy and paste the preferred knowledge, skills, and abilities. So that is the second paragraph in every posting. I'm going to copy and paste that. Oop. Okay. And now here's where we personalize our response based on what the KSAs are. The applicant must be able to work independently, following training, have excellent attention to detail, have a valid driver's license, and be able to work during off-peak hours. So you'll want to speak to each of those points, right? Again, work independently following training. This doesn't necessarily have to come from actual work experience. Let's say you had a semester-long project where you were given, you were given training or you were given instructions on how to complete this project independently, with deadlines and expectations of what a good work product or what a good grade meant. That's an experience that you can draw upon from your academic life, as far as your ability to work independently, following training or following being given instructions that isn't necessarily related to work experience. You can also draw on a variety of experiences regarding an excellent attention to detail. If there was specific assignments where your professor noted just how you went above and beyond to point out details that maybe other students might have missed, or details beyond the basic scope of the project. That's something you can draw upon as well. Having a valid driver's license, that's either a yes or no, and your availability to work off peak or outside of the regular 9 to 5 hours. That'll be something that you can speak to regardless of your experience. And then taking it a step further, talking about any experience that you might have with data management. Again, if that's something that you have to draw on from your academic pursuits or your volunteer pursuits, feel free to talk about that there. The idea of this space is for you to be able to expand upon those experiences that qualify you in those knowledge, skills, and abilities that maybe wouldn't necessarily show up on a resume. So we would put our short answer there, and then to finish up our letter of qualifications for the conservation biologist position, the last step is to copy and paste the position duties, and then speak to how our career goals or academic pursuits kind of align with these duties. What have we studied so far in the realm of field work, in the realm of habitat management, or anything relative to the duties listed here? Or what are our interests relative to the duties listed here? How have we supported those interests, not only academically, but maybe plans for future classes? Like, let's say I'm enrolled in environmental conservation 101 or something for the upcoming semester. That might be something to mention here, as well as if you are set in, hey, I am going to school for a degree in conservation, and this, these duties are relative to the career I want to pursue with that degree, this would be a space for you to talk about that here. So once we have identified all the positions that we're interested in for this year, you're going to want to make sure that you've saved this letter of qualifications to your drive, to your computer outside of its existence on the web browser. So let's say we've got our positions identified. We've got our letter of qualifications filled out for each position that we're interested in. The next step is to apply for the program through WISC Jobs, and you will find that link here, or you could get the link directly from WISC Jobs. And like I mentioned, regardless of what keywords you put in here, the State of Wisconsin Student Diversity Internship Program should be the first job that pops up on your search. So I'm going to just go back to this website. If the internship I'm applying for isn't located close to where I live, but remote work is available, how often would I be required to travel to the in-person location? So that's a great question. And that really does vary from position to position. So for those instances where the answer for eligible for remote work is something like partially or some of the time, if you would like a more specific response to that, feel free to email me at this email address, and I can reach out to the supervisor of that position to get a more comprehensive response. It really does vary. Traditionally, a hybrid remote work schedule looks something like 2 days in the 2 to 3 days in the office. But again, that varies from position to position. So if that's a major determining factor in whether or not you're going to apply for that position, please email me with the position number and title, and I can get a specific response to you. Elizabeth asked, at what time will the internship start in the summer? May 22nd is our start date. Again, the specific positions have a little bit of flexibility depending upon the needs of the agency and the needs of the intern. We have had, various instances over the course of the years where just the intern had, schedule conflicts, in May, or the agency had other scheduling conflicts, and they've agreed upon a later date or an earlier date. That's something that you'd really work out with the agency themselves. But for the most part, we are aiming for a May 22nd start date for all internships. All right, so I just want to quickly get back to our application, and Margaret, then I will touch on your question afterwards. But so where we're at, right, is we've identified our positions. We filled out the letter of qualifications template for all of those positions that we're interested in, and now we're ready to apply. And so the application process is completed through WISC Jobs. That is the website that all state positions are listed on, and you will apply to any state position through this job. So this is the official position posting on WISC Jobs. Again, the link to the catalog. You'll also find the link to the letter of qualifications template. If you'll see, this is just kind of a review of what we need to apply. Reviewing the positions, identifying which positions you're interested in, and then filling out the letter of qualifications template, as well as having a resume ready to upload. So we'll click the apply for job. And if you don't have a WISC Jobs account yet, this is where you will be asked to create one. All you need to create one is your basic contact demographic info. It'll ask you for your first name, last name, address, last 4 of your social, birthday, and an email address and username. and password to register. Pretty simple process. So once you've registered, you'll be taken to this screen. This is the official application for the SWSDIP program. The first portion of this application is just an acknowledgement to the terms and conditions. It also provides the contact information for the WIS Jobs Help Desk if you experience any kind of technical error while you're completing the application. Their email and their phone number is there. If you have questions specific to the program itself, like specific to positions, please email me at that email address listed in the chat. So you'll go ahead and acknowledge the terms and conditions, and then you will, my thing must have timed out. So sorry about that. All right, let's get back to where we were. We've acknowledged our terms and conditions, and this is where we upload our resume and our letter of qualifications that we previously saved. So I'm going to get rid of what's already in here. This is what it will look like for you as you start a new application. So you will go to attach resume. It'll open this window. You'll choose from my device. You'll find your resume wherever it's saved, and then you will have to click upload before you close this box. So upload is complete. We'll hit done. And then this is where we upload that letter of qualifications that we filled out for each position. Again, you'll find it in your computer. Hit upload. It has been completed and done. All right. So we'll hit next. And these are those basic qualifying questions. One, that you're 18 years old at the time that the internship begins in May 2022 this year. Two, that you are recently graduating from, enrolled in, or plan to enroll in a 2-4 or graduate school and technical college. That you are, the next question is about your Wisconsin residency. So this program does give preference to Wisconsin residents. And residence is a Wisconsin resident is a very broadly defined term. So you are a Wisconsin resident so long as you have resided in the state for 10 consecutive days. For the purposes of this program, or in the context of this program, you are a Wisconsin resident if you attend school in the state of Wisconsin, but maybe your permanent address is outside of the state. You're still a Wisconsin resident. So you will select what applies to you, what condition applies to you as a Wisconsin resident. If you are not, if you are attending school elsewhere, if you do not have a permanent residence within the state, but you're interested in the program, like let's say you're from Illinois, Minnesota, Michigan, etc., you can still apply. Just want to point out that we do give preference to Wisconsin state residents. And then you'll go on to indicate your current year in school, what your anticipated graduation date is, and then what school it is that you are attending. And then we have some questions throughout this application regarding demographics. They're all optional questions, but it is for the purpose of gathering data about the efficacy of our program and its goal. And again, the goal of the program is to provide these internship opportunities to students of color, students who identify as women, students with disabilities, students who are veterans. So you'll answer this question about whether or not you're considered as having a disability. And then question 8 is specific to those positions that you're interested in. So if you'll remember, I actually don't remember, but I'm pretty sure I applied to the conservation biologist position when we filled out our letter of qualifications. So I only filled that one out for the purposes of this application. If I had filled out additional ones, I would go through and select every position that I had filled out for on my letter of qualifications template. And so they are all listed here. It is a little bit tedious to have to find them, but all of the names, the position numbers and working titles should match up exactly with what was in the catalog. So you would just go and find those up to 5 positions that you applied for and make sure that you check the box for that. Once you've had them all checked, you'll go to next. You'll fill out, if you desire, information on your education. This is, specific to licenses and certifications or registrations, or if you have any other language skills, such as being fluent in another language, you could add that here. Cancel that. And then the next section will ask you about county locations within the state that you're interested in working in. If you applied for, just Madison positions, Dayton County. If you're interested in, any other position locations, you would just hit yes to switch that dial from no to yes. There is no required supporting documentation for the application. It is just the letter of qualifications template and the resume. The last section is to the option to self-identify, your veteran status, and then just a notice about the reasonable accommodations that we provide. And the second portion of that self-identification section is regarding gender, or regarding sex and ethnicity and race. Again, those are optional, but we do want to ensure that our program is meeting its goals. Oh, you do, well, it's optional in the sense that you have to provide an answer. So whether your answer is, a specific sex or ethnicity, race, or decline to answer, you do have to still check a box. This is where you will review your application, everything that you filled out so far. If it's all good, you hit submit, and you should receive a confirmation email that your application has been received. And that's that. Again, the application deadline is January 21st. It's 3 Fridays, 2 Fridays from this Friday. It's coming up quick here in about 2.5 weeks. And we will need that application by the end of the day. So that kind of covers the application process itself. If there are any questions, feel free to put them in chat. I'm just looking. I think Sarah might have addressed all of the questions that came up in chat while we ran through this. I believe as far as the language section goes, there is the ability to notate your fluency level. And Sarah, feel free to chime in the chat. Let's just look at this. I actually hate this. So there is the ability to notate your proficiency level in each of the 3 areas: reading, speaking, and writing. So whatever language it is that you are wanting to add, you can indicate your proficiency level in those areas, as well as indicating whether it was your native language or if you're able to translate and teach. Margaret is wondering if you must have 3 to 5 references if you move on in the selection process, or if 2 would be enough. So that's really going to vary from position to position. So the references will come later on in the selection process, as you've pointed out. That'll be something that you can discuss with the interview panel or the HR contact at the time upon going through the selection process. So yeah, and if there's no way for you to have more than 2, just make sure to talk about that with your selection panel or HR contact. And you do not, yes, right, Sarah, you nothing is required in supporting documentation. Just the most important takeaway for this application is that it consists of the letter of qualifications template, which is essentially your cover letter for each position that you're interested in, and your resume. So that is, as long as you have those 2 components, that is the bulk of your application. Those are the meat and potatoes of your application. So, all right, and then after you've gone through these 6 sections, you will just review your information and submit. And you should receive a confirmation email from WSJobs that you have successfully applied for the program. If there's anything missing from your application, Sarah has been amazing at catching those and letting applicants know that there was, the letter of qualifications missing from the application. So long as you can submit that information to us before the deadline, you can still get your application in to be considered for the program. So it's a good idea to submit your application, earlier rather than later, so that if there is something missing from it, you have a chance before the deadline to correct that and get that into us. I just want to make sure I see a hand up. Again, we can't open mics, so if there's any questions, put them in chat, please. All right, so we've gone through the application. If you think of anything else in the remaining 10, 12 minutes we have left, feel free to put it in chat. You can also email me with any other application questions. I'll put that email address in chat again before we end today. I just kind of want to go over our program timeline this year before we wrap things up. As we mentioned, January 21st is that application deadline. After the application period closes, we will review and sort the applications out to each position that was applied for, and the agencies that house that position will receive that applicant list. From about mid-February to mid-March, student interviews are expected to take place at the agencies for which the positions, are housed. And then from late March to mid-April, we're expecting that job offers will be made to interns for those positions that they interviewed for. Again, the start date is around May 22nd. We're hoping the majority of internships will start on that date or close to. And then another date that's not on here is in the second week of June. We will have an internship orientation where all interns from this program, regardless of state agency or where in the state you work, are invited to attend a virtual or orientation event that just kind of brings everybody in the program together and talks about, again, what it is we're hoping that you can take away from this internship program, how we can provide any sort of support for you throughout the summer to reach your goals and get the most out of your internship experience. As well as throughout the summer, we'll provide various networking opportunities. Traditionally, these have occurred on a bi-weekly basis. Last year, they were all virtual. It's looking like this year it'll probably be all virtual again. But ultimately, these are different events that kind of provide some more insight into what it is that different state agencies do, different career opportunities that you could have in the state, just some, personal stories from state employees on how they've developed their careers throughout the year, and just different opportunities that they've had with the state. So they're really neat events that we encourage interns to attend, just to get a more comprehensive idea of what working for the state is like. Yep, in some interviews, but again, the process that occurs after the application, after you've submitted your application, may vary from position to position. So depending on that state agency's protocol or procedures, some of the interview, you might go straight to an interview. You might have an additional screening measure before you go to an interview. It really does vary from position to position. Up until submitting the application, your experience will be the same across the board. But as far as your experience in the selection process post-application, it depends on the position itself. So there might be positions that receive 50, 60 applicants, and so additional screening measures are necessary, like a phone interview or what have you. But ultimately, we're looking at the same kind of timeline here for when interviews occur and when job offers will be made. All right. And then finally, the internship end date will be about mid to late August. And Greta's asking if more than one intern can be hired for each position, or is it one intern per position? So there are some positions that are hiring more than one. So when I mentioned earlier that we have 191 positions, I believe that represents about 226 openings. So there are some positions that are hiring for more than one candidate. Here are just some pictures of our pre-COVID networking events that we've had with the DNR, or DOA, or the governor's office. We've gone on different tours of facilities. Really looking forward to the day that we can get back to some of those in-person events. But it's looking like 2022 will probably be virtual as well. Again, here are some resources for you as you are considering your application. And if you have any questions in the application process, feel free to email us here. This website is, again, that homepage for SWSDIP, this page right here, where you will find our catalog, the letter of qualifications, and the link to the WSJobs position, or the WSJobs application. Also, if you wanted to know more about the work that other state agencies do, you can visit this website, which will lead you to, it's a landing page of all Wisconsin state agencies. And you can learn a little bit more about what those agencies do, maybe find their mission statement, their value statement. This is a good tool to use if you find a position that you're interested in, but you've really never even heard of that department or that state agency. You can use this website to learn more about that state agency, and perhaps use some of the information that you discover in your interview process. One great way of elevating yourself in an interview is to show that you're genuinely interested in the work that the agency does. You've done some preliminary research on what the agency is about and how you can connect your your career goals, your academic goals and experiences with the mission statement and values of the agency. So this might be a good place for you to learn more about what particular state agencies do and what their mission statement and values are. So we've got about 5 minutes left. Are there any questions after going through all of that information? Again, the biggest things we want to leave you with is that the application is the letter of qualification template for each position you're interested in, and the resume. Those two documents need to be present for your application to be complete. Should all the courses experience in my letter of qualifications be included on my resume? That ultimately is up to you, Jenna. Again, the letter of qualifications is going to be that initial kind of like cover letter screening measure where that'll be the first information that a state agency, receives as far as your interest in the position, your ability to meet the KSAs of the position, and the relevance of the duties of the position to your career goals or your academic pursuits. The resume itself will be a single document that will be unchanged for each position you apply to. So if you feel comfortable including all of your courses and experience in your resume, that's ultimately up to you. But it's the letter of qualifications that you will speak most specifically to each position you're applying for. No problem. We will have another, it'll be the same exact content for next week. So we will host on the 12th another session of how to apply, just running through the same slides, the same format, just giving students an opportunity who maybe weren't able to make it today to attend for next week. And again, Elizabeth, if you have any questions, from now until then, please email me and we can get those questions sorted. And thank you all for attending. These have been great questions. I'm excited about this year's program. We have a lot of opportunity and I'm excited to hopefully see all of your applications soon. So thank you all very much. Again, any other questions, please feel free to email me at any time. You can also find, as I'm hoping many of you did, you can also find our posting on Handshake. You can reach out to me on Handshake as well, and we can get your questions answered. So thank you all for attending. And we will see you soon. I hope to see your application soon.